Thanks, Marcus. That was really a pleasure to hear. And I have something a lot lighter. Probably not as good. I moved to the Bay Area in May of 2000. I was 27 years old, and my first job here in the Bay Area was working at a video store. Remember those? Remember those? Anyone here who's under 27 years old, imagine Netflix is a place you have to go to. That's a video store. I worked at video stores before, and I loved working at video stores because I love movies, and I loved helping people find movies that were appropriate for whatever situation it was, whatever reason they came into the video store. And at a video store, you get to watch movies on someone else's dime. Also a good experience. That means that a good day at a video store is an uneventful day at a video store. Because anything else that gets in the way of those three things is what you don't is a reason you did not take that job. So you want it to be as uneventful as possible. I worked that job about a year and a half, and 99% of my shifts were just that, uneventful. Rented movies, helped people find movies, talked movies. It was beautiful. The day I'm going to tell you about was not one of those days. It was my most eventful day at the video store because it involved, in order, a pornographic solicitation, a marriage crumbling, and an attempted outright bribery. All in one 13-hour shift. And that's what I'd like to tell you about this evening. I will take you to an unseasonably warm Saturday in December. I had elected to work a double shift because I was 27 and broke, and the holidays were coming up and I wanted to buy people gifts. So I took a double shift whenever I could. That meant I would be working at the video store from 11 a.m. until midnight. 13 hours on your feet. And so I showed up at 11 a.m., I unlocked the door, I started going through the procedure of what you do to open the store. You take the movies that have been dumped in the mailbox the night before, you start restocking them on the shelves, you fire up the computer and the phone. We did have a phone that you had to fire up. That was the kind of place it was. This was an independent video store in the pre-Netflix era. And I was doing all this. Now, let me tell you about the kind of person who generally comes into a video store at 11 a.m. on a Saturday. It's not that bad. You're usually talking about parents with young kids who are looking to rent something for a sort of post-lunch kind of entertainment, or you're talking about couples who are going on a day trip and want to have something to do when they get home from their day trip and they've probably had dinner away from home. My first customer was neither of those people. So, I am getting ready for the day, and the phone rings. And I pick up the phone, and before the person speaks, I know precisely who it is. Hi, Kevin, this is the manager. The manager's name was Randy. He never said his name was Randy. He always said he was the manager. He was like every manager at every independent video store I've ever worked at or that you've ever worked at or ever been to. Meaning he was 10 years older than the employees, and he was painfully aware of the fact that managing a video store wasn't that much different than being a clerk at a video store. And so he did whatever he could to remind you that in this non-existent hierarchy of the video store, he was a little bit above you. So he called himself the manager, and at the beginning of every shift, we had this little phone call where he would take me through, just wanted to check and see if I was going to do everything that began the shift. And the questions usually went something like this. Did you open the door? Perhaps I'm having this conversation with you from the park across the street. Did you turn on the phone? Meaning this U-shaped piece of plastic that I'm talking to you, you get the idea. And we'd go through this little charade where he would pretend to be a boss, and I would say, yes, I've done everything you've said. And he was like, well, great, let me know if you have any questions. And he'd hang up the phone, and I'd go on about the beginning of my morning. The store has been open for 5 minutes. And I hear the door open and the little bell ring, and I'm thinking it's going to be one of those parents with young children or people about to go on a day trip. It is not. It is the guy that Clint Eastwood chases in Dirty Harry. The guy made my whole body break out in itches because it looked like he had just come back from fondling an entire school bus worth of children. And I got the creeps just looking at him. And he walks to the center of my store and stops and looks at me and just goes, hi. Hi. Do you have any movies of the adult variety? This is a bullshit question, by the way. Anyone who has been to a non-Blockbuster video knows that they all carry porn. It's how they stay in business, or how they did stay in business when those kind of video stores existed. Even if you've never been to this video store, when he asked me that question, he happened to be standing next to a sign with an arrow that said adult movies upstairs. The only reason you come into a video store and ask this question is so you can see yourself as kind of the hip swinging guy who feels okay talking about the fact that you watch porn. In San Francisco, where a nun will sell you porn. Yes, we have porn. It is upstairs. And then I pretend to be doing something because I am already aggravated and scared by this person. I look up from my really doing nothing, and he hasn't moved. It's my birthday. That was the next thing he said to me. I'm like, happy birthday, thinking, do I call the cops? Is he going to hold up the store? What the heck's going? Do I make a run for it? What do I do? And I look up and he's still standing there and he says, and I'm looking for something special. My first thought is, am I something special? And I'm just like, upstairs, all you want, help yourself. And I go back to doing my thing. He still hasn't moved. And then he says, I like beautiful asses. What am I going to do with that? Upstairs, help yourself. Beautiful asses as far as the eye can see. Go. And then he turns around, spins on his heel, and walks out of the store. After standing there open-mouthed, I realized I have been the verbal equivalent of flashed on the subway. He didn't come in here to rent a movie. He didn't come in here to celebrate his birthday or find beautiful asses. He came in here to creep out whoever happened to be working here when he walked in the door. He's probably down the street at our next door neighbors pulling the same routine at the Italian bakery that's a few doors down the way. And I'm 10 minutes into a 13-hour shift. Thankfully, the next few hours pass without incident. I check in some customers, I send some movies out, I order lunch, I watch a movie, some people come in. It's your basic day at the video store. About 3 p.m., a woman comes charging in the door, gets about 3 feet in the store. She is wearing a ski jacket and mittens, even though it is 65 degrees outside. And she points one mitten at my head and goes, "Gladiator?" I don't know why, but video stores are the only retail business where this sort of thing happens. Where people come in and just shout the names of movies to the heavens in hope that the movie will leap from the shelves onto their lap like a puppy. Or they point it at you, hoping you know somehow what they're talking about. As a result, video store clerks spend hours coming up with witty rejoinders to this sort of thing. I had half a mind to take off my shirt and flex and be like, no, but I have been working out and thank you for noticing. But I knew she was probably in a hurry, which is why she burst into the store and yelled the name of a movie at me. And so I went and I got Gladiator and I ran it through the computer, and the computer beeps, strangely, because this woman owed the video store $183 in late fees. I said, "Ma'am, I cannot rent this movie to you. You owe the store $183. She said, "May I borrow the phone?" I said, "Of course you can." She picks up the phone. "Hello, Jim. I'm at the video store." And they say we owe them $183, and I know that's not my movie. I know it's your movie. I don't care that we're getting divorced. You owe the video store $183. I don't care that it's Saturday. I'm calling the attorney. I know they'll pick up the phone. And this is going right on the settlement next to the ski house in Lake Tahoe. Slams down the phone, runs out the door. 10 minutes later, a car pulls up in front of the store, double parks, hits the hazard light, the driver opens the door, doesn't shut it, Flies in the store, a tall man in a leather jacket comes in. I'm like, that's Jim. I know that's Jim. He says, hi, my name is Jim. What was my wife, a woman named Carol, just in here. I said, hey, Jim. Yes, your wife was in here 10 minutes ago. She says we owe the store $183. I said, it's right here, Jim. He says, I'm not paying that bitch's late fees. I said, I don't know what to tell you, Jim. You owe the store $183. I can't let you go walking around with our merchandise if you owe us that much money. He goes, can I get your name and number? I said, you can, Jim, but I don't know what for. And he says, well, we might have to depose the store and your records as part of our divorce settlement. This whole thing will probably have to go to court. I'm like, whoa. I said, Jim, here's the name of the manager. Here's the name of the manager. He'll give you everything you need. Go forth. And Jim's like, okay, fine, I'm going to call him when I get home, and Jim leaves. 10 minutes later, the phone rings. Hi, Kevin, it's the manager. I'm just checking to see if everything's okay. I'm like, well, how much time have you spent at the county courthouse? And then I explained the whole thing to him. Thankfully, the rest of the day was busy. It was not uneventful, but it was brisk. And it went by and people came in, and when that's happening, you don't notice the hours ticking by until about 11:30. When the customer flow kind of slows to a trickle, and people coming in at 11:30 generally want to get their movie and go home. So by the end of the shift, you have worked for 13 hours, and you are ready for it to be done. So you're looking up at the clock on the wall, and you're like, 10, 9, 8, 7, 6. And as soon as the clock hits midnight, I walk over to the door, I lock it, I flip the sign over, and I start closing down the store for the night, which means returning the movies that are on the counter to the shelf, powering down the computer, vacuuming, all that kind of stuff. And there's a knock on the door. There is always a knock on the door after the store closes. And generally, that's a person who wants to drop off their movie and not be charged a late fee. So I tell them to just put it in the mailbox, and I'll run it through the computer, and I won't charge them for the movie. There's a knock on the door. I say, I'm sorry, we're closed, but you can drop off your movie, and I'll make sure you don't get a late fee. And what I hear on the other side of the door is, please? I'm like, I'm sorry, we're closed. You've had 13 hours to come in here. I don't say that, but I'm like, I'm sorry, we're closed. If you have a movie to drop off, you can, but if you want to check something out, you gotta come back tomorrow at 11. Are you sure? Yes, I am sure. Please come back tomorrow. I hear footsteps going off into the distance. I hear footsteps coming back. I hear the mail slot opened, and a movie doesn't come through it, but a well-manicured hand, wearing an expensive tennis bracelet and holding what is undoubtedly a folded piece of US currency. And I hear the most obsequious voice I have ever heard in my life say, not even for $10? Now I'm not tired, I'm not annoyed, I'm angry. Because I have worked a very long day. I have been verbally flashed and possibly subpoenaed. And now this is happening. Someone thinks I am going to turn the lights on, repower up the computer, and restart this whole business because they want to find a movie at midnight, and they think I'm going to do this for the low, low price of 2 breakfast burritos? There's a certain amount of dignity I like to maintain even in these situations. And it takes me all of 3 seconds to say, ma'am, not even for $10. And I hear her footsteps go dejectedly off into the distance, and because I was not feeling like an adult at the time, I opened the door and I stood out on the corner, and I did what my father used to do when he wanted to give someone a finger. I just went like this, and all. I finished cleaning up the store. I power everything down. It is almost 1 in the morning at this time. I am on my way. I am 7 blocks away from my bed. And I'm about to turn my key in the lock, and the phone rings. I pick up the phone. Hi, Kevin, this is the manager. I just wanted to make sure everything went okay today. To this day, all of these years later, I don't know why I did this. I didn't like the guy. I certainly didn't trust him. But I just took a deep breath and unloaded. And for 20 minutes, I talked about getting verbally flashed, getting possibly subpoenaed, and then getting bribed. And I told him everything that happened that day, and we're laughing, and I'm out of breath at the end of it, and I'm standing in this darkened video store. It's past 1 in the morning. I've been working since 11 o'clock, and I'm like, and that's what happened today. And he goes, well, Kevin, sounds like just another day at the video store. Thanks, everybody.